they all see that it's a lie. 'Cause we always give it one last try. Yeah, you've watched me break 1,000 times. Now I'm all alone, 'cause you never show. You say you will, but then you don't. That's how it goes. Don't wanna know. I'm turning off my mind so I get by. I just wanna be happy, happy tonight. Without giving a warning, I'ma leave without giving a. But every time we say goodbye, we all know that it's a lie. Now I'm all alone, 'cause you never show. You say you will, but then you don't. That's how it goes. Don't wanna know. I'm turning off my mind so I get by. I just wanna be happy, happy tonight.
Lost my best friend to 23. She left her body and hovered above me. I saw no shadow, I looked around, searched every building and home that I found. I saw no shadow, but felt the glow. The warmth inside me, it kept me afloat. It felt like heaven had found my bones and gave me comfort when I feel alone. Now you're gone, I'm alone. I guess it's time to get better. Through the pain, I will go alone. If I fall, break my bones, I will scream even louder. 'Cause I'm not dying alone. I lost my best friend to 23. She left her body and hovered above me. My best friend to 23. I heard the heavens crying above me. They gained an angel, I lost a friend. I felt like dying again and again. I went through hell, stared at death, but I keep fighting with each living breath. I saw no way out from where I stood. Felt like the fire had burned me for. Now you're gone, I'm alone. I guess it's time to get better. Through the pain, I will go alone. If I fall, break my bones, I will scream even louder. 'Cause I'm not dying alone. I lost my best friend.
look at people and I wonder all day, who are you and you are not the one in your way. And then I think about myself and I stayed. I'm a pretty boss with almost your brainwaves. I'm a freak in the sheets, but I got class. I'ma grab an ass if you want it. Best you ever had, give it to you back. Ooh. Talk about quiet with a big mouth. Listen for the doubt, then call it. Make you out for what you say to me. Look at every single date. If you got what I need, then oh, I'll take you on like a big deal. Legs you can unseal, key ignition.
No audio. What is up, Level Up Nation, and welcome to the Monday edition of LvLUp Live, your home for gaming and esports news, brought to you by the OTN Media family. My name is Fiasco, but you can call me John, and I am joined by the king of gaming, the courtside king. You can call him Joey too. Joey, what's up, buddy?
What is up, sir? Yeah, so we are here, LvLUp Live. We're taking the LvLUp Podcast to another step, doing a bit more of our live shows here, adding a few little extra things in. Still cleaning up the template, as you guys live on Twitch can see currently. We're still moving some things around and trying a few different things out, but I am stoked for this Monday.
All right, Joey. So pre-show, we talked about it. Of course, it came true, Joey. So of course, I'm going to be tweaking your audio throughout the show on OBS because, you know, this is why we can't have nice things. Nation, make sure you follow the show on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at LvLUp Live. That's at LvLUp Live. And while you're on Twitter, make sure to give Joey and I a follow. You can find Joey at Courtside King. Find myself at Fiasco. If you are watching here live on the Twitch broadcast, it'll be below those shots you're currently staring at right now. And if you're listening on the podcast down the road, they'll be in the show notes for you below. And Nation, as always, if you do wish to listen to the podcast version of the show, the LvLUp Podcast is available on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. And since you're listening to the podcast already, why not leave us a really awesome review? Reviews do go a long way in helping promote the show. We would appreciate you leaving a review, telling a friend, telling a family member. Just let them know about the show. Maybe they can come check it out live here on Twitch or listen to the podcast down the road. Nation, Sony's State of Play is this week. A lot of pressure on Sony following Xbox's recent performance in their announcement shows. Sony's event, will it live up to the hype? That's the big question today. State of Play, it just happens to be one of many topics on this day's episode. Joey, what else are we talking about today?
John, we are also talking about a slew of moves in VALORANT, a lot of roster shuffling and signing going on over there. We're also talking Splinter Cell, not the new game that fans want, but a Netflix series coming soon. We're talking Halo Infinite going free to play for multiplayer and much more.
All right, Joey. So we're changing things up a little bit, but one thing that's not going to change with this multi-show format just gives us more opportunity to drink throughout the week. Joey, of course, I'm talking about the drink of choice. Used to be once a week. Now it's twice a week. Who knows? Maybe it'll be 5 days a week. Don't know about that yet. Joey, your beverage for the Monday edition of LvLUp Live.
John, I am leveling back up to alcohol. I'm going with a Woodford Reserve bourbon once again after a nice little week of water last week to sit back and relax, but it's time to celebrate once again.
Outstanding, Joey. So this actually came recommended to me while I was shopping over the weekend with my mask on. Let's be respectful to other people here. Have you heard of this? The Truly Lemonade hard seltzers kind of thing? Have you heard of these, Joey?
I don't think so. Is it like a spike seltzer?
Yeah. So do you remember the good old days in high school when you were sneaking alcohol around? You're trying to make sure your parents don't find out, so you would drink Mike's Hard Lemonade. This is like the responsible, healthy version, if you will, of Mike's Hard Lemonade, if you can believe that.
Wow, sounds wonderful. I can't say I was a big Mike's Hard Lemonade fan. They're a little too sugary for me, but I like where you're going with this at least. At least. By the way, my sound I think is too low.
Yeah, so I have you with a plus 26 decibel boost. So I don't know what else I can do on my end. That is actually the max OBS, unfortunately, will allow me to take you.
We love OBS over here at the LvLUp Live, LvLUp Podcast, whatever you want to call it. We've had struggles with it recently. My volume has not changed at all. I am at the same exact, but OBS seems to want to change that for the live show for us.
Yeah, not quite sure as to why that is. But Joey, enough with mic issues. I'm going to troubleshoot while we're doing this. Try to make sure you're loud and clear so everyone can hear your buttery smooth voice throughout the show. But let's go ahead and get started with gaming and esports news, Joey. Let's go!
John, kicking things off with those VALORANT roster moves, let's talk G2. G2 Esports has completed their VALORANT roster with a regular stand-in, David P. So this is someone who we've all thought is going to G2 for a while. He stood in with them for, I think, 4 tournaments now. G2 has done extremely well over in the EU scene for VALORANT. They continue to dominate matchup after matchup. Now finally making it official. A lot of people for a while thought Scream was going to be that final fill-in. He played really well with Mixwell in a few tournaments. Now it sounds like Scream might be going to Team Liquid. So we're looking at different moves. Who's going to fill in that final spot? The answer is now finally David P officially. I think this is a great move for G2, and I think it keeps them heavy favorites in EU. Any other thoughts on that? So, I mean, John, we've talked a bit about Valorant in general. What are your thoughts of people signing all these rosters before we really have official competitions underway?
So you can take it one of several ways. You can take a look at it saying, even though there's not an official scene yet, that the organizations believe that there will be a scene, that they have enough background information through the developer, right? It's in regards to what they have planned in the future. You take a look at Riot's track record. You take a look at League of Legends, how that's like an absolute global success, not just as a free-to-play game, but as an esport title as well. So yeah, when Riot comes out with a new title finally for the first time in forever, and has that esport potential, when you see moves like this, it pretty much solidifies that suggestion that the organizations have the information they need to make that monetary investment going forward.
Couple other Valorant moves. Let's talk Cloud9. They have signed Shinobi as their 4th Valorant team member. Still 1 to go for that C9 squad, but I don't think we need to touch too much on C9. We're going to talk about them a lot more once they have that 5th player. So far, the roster is coming together pretty well. Tens is arguably one of the best players over there in NA right now, or over here in NA. But another contender could be jumping up in EU, and that is Fun Plus Phoenix. Fun Plus Phoenix is rumored to be entering the EU Valorant scene. Obviously, a giant Chinese team in League of Legends. They won Worlds this past year as well. Now looking at possibly expanding their coverage into Europe. This is huge. Fun Plus Phoenix is a giant brand already in China, now looking to take over another region potentially in a new game as well, in a Riot-led game at that. If they end up moving over, they're rumored to be signing 3 players from Fabricant, and that is Meadow, Shadow, and Zypan, alongside Angel and Shao of Party Parrots. I can't say I've seen Fabricant play that much, but Party Parrots is very fun to watch. They're one of those up-and-coming young teams over in Europe. A lot of young, talented players behind that squad. A lot of really good, really competition finishes in general. A lot of top 5 finishes for that team. And as a team of no real giant players out there. This is a lot of young players, a lot of relatively unknown players when we look at like the Overwatch League or CSGO. A lot of these players are just coming in, trying to get themselves a name in Valorant. And so far, they've been doing a good job. If Fun Plus Phoenix makes this move, I think this is not only big for the Valorant scene and potential. I don't necessarily think they're going to push G2 right off the guard coming over in EU, but I think this will help Fun Plus Phoenix expand their brand as well as get a lot of young players heading into Valorant scene. And it looks like we're just waiting to hear on the audio. So chat, if you could let us know if the audio is a little bit better. Again, having a few little issues there with OBS, but we'll try to keep adjusting on our end to fix it. This next one, John, again, sticking with Valorant, but I think it's a little bit more of a concern. So Jason R has now stated that he is leaving the FaZe Clan roster, stating that he had no say in any of the team signings. This to me is potentially a bigger issue, and I don't really know which side I would attribute it to. So we're looking at FaZe Clan. They're putting together this all-star roster. You have Jason R. You have Corey, who is a really strong DPS, obviously, or I would argue probably one of the top 3, top 5 overall in the Overwatch League, playing for the Washington Justice. Extremely talented player, really strong Widowmaker. Now he's decided he's leaving the Overwatch League. He's moved over to the Valorant scene. FaZe picked him up. Great pickup, in my humble opinion. But now Jason is coming out as the team captain of the squad, saying he had no real say in some of these signings that FaZe has been picking up. I'm trying to think, like professional sports, John, the players don't usually get a signing. Like you could argue, yes, when LeBron went to Miami, he might have had some say. When LeBron went back to Cleveland, he might have had some say. But other than a giant all-star like that, a lot of the time sports players just get told, hey, I'm your GM. This is where you're going to play for these years. This is who's going to play with you. And we're going to make our own signings relative to what you think. Now, I know esports is a little bit more intimate. We're talking 3 to 5 player squads in a lot of these different titles, Valorant being 5 in particular. But this to me, I'm like, okay, Jason, I get it. I understand maybe you were told that you're going to have a bit more say in picking these players up. But you also look at Hiko. Hiko with 100 Thieves was told he was going to be able to form his own team. And then 100 Thieves went out and got these 4 players to play around him. I would argue they're underperforming as a team right now. And part of that could be because Hiko didn't have a say. But Hiko, you signed a contract and he's playing it out. Hiko is a great player, a great coach. I think he comes in with a very strong mental appeal as well to try to help those young players learn. And he understands the situations he's in. He understands he did not get to pick those players, but he's still going onward. Jason decides, hey, I don't necessarily like the players you signed. I'm not going to stick around. I'm going to leave. I get it from Jason's end, but honestly, I feel like FaZe should have more say in this anyway, to be honest.
Yeah, and you bring up a very valid point when it comes to traditional sports. Even in traditional sports, this does not happen. You have the rare occasion, like you said, like your LeBron James is out there, who most recently apparently made the decision to the front office for the Lakers to bring J.R. Smith onto the team. That is a very, very rare case. I mean, Jason R is not the LeBron James of Valorant or of first-person shooters. So, it's a very case-by-case situation. Now, yeah, in esports, they will take player or team considerations into account, just like they do in traditional sports. They're going to say, hey, look, we're looking for X kind of player. We're looking for X kind of position on this team. What are you guys looking for in a teammate? What are you guys looking for, to be a part of this family, to be a part of this organization? And that's about it. And in all honesty, Joey, I'm right there with you. I don't even think the organization owes them that. Because at the end of the day, the organization has to go out and find what works best for them. Not just team-wise, not just team chemistry-wise, not just for their organization, their brand, their sponsors, their market, but also what works for them financially. I may want to sit here and say, I want these 4 best Valorant players, but they're going to cost me, 6 figures each. And I don't know if I'm ready to make that kind of investment into a scene that is still growing, that doesn't have an official scene just as of yet. So there's a lot of things you have to take into account, things that players generally don't have to worry about. And that's why you leave it to the front office. That's why you leave it to the organizations to figure it out on your behalf with your input, but not your ultimate say on who gets signed to the team.
Right. And I think this is one of those situations where it could be a win-win for both sides. Jason can leave. He can try to fund his own team or sign with another organization and build his roster. FaZe can say, hey, we lost him, but we can fill that void. We already have Corey over here. We have Zachary. We have a good squad forming. Let's just do our own thing then. I don't think this necessarily has to be a loss for either side. I think it's just one thing that players need to keep in mind when they're signing orgs. Orgs can promise a lot of things. We've seen this happen many, many different orgs, many, many different players. Some players don't even get paid from their orgs. Some tournament organizers don't pay out their participants either. There are definitely issues still coming up in the esports scene as it's, I don't want to say it's young, but it's still young enough that there's a lot of growth to happen. So with that being said, pay attention, guys. When you're signing these contracts, obviously Jason got out of this one fine, but if you really want to say, make it written in the contract, make it a part of that contract. That's the way to go about this. If you 100% want it, trust only goes a certain amount of way. You can trust organizations, you can trust players, but at the same point, they can always change the way things are going. If a giant sponsor comes in, they might take that sponsor and take that sponsor's word over yours, even if they gave you word of mouth that they're going to let you form whatever team you want to. So again, nothing against FaZe, nothing against Jason here. I think both sides saw things a little bit differently, but also for potential players signing on with orgs, take everything with a grain of salt unless it's written into a contract.
And really, this is like the best case situation, like you were saying, Joey. If you are a player with an organization and you strongly disagree with what they're doing, yeah, you can make it known to your organization, and you can make it known to the organization that you don't like the direction that they're going and you would like to leave. The organization has every right to say, well, no, you signed a contract. Or the organization can say, you know what, we understand where you're coming from. We wish you the best in the future, and they're not going to hold them back. I agree with you, Joe. I think it's the best case scenario in this situation for both FaZe and for Jason to part separate ways and go about their doing separately.
Now, John, we have to go on to a not so best case scenario for the Houston Outlaws over there. He's not the first to do it, but Raucus is now leaving the Overwatch League scene as well. He follows players like Sinatra from The Shock, Corey from the Washington Justice we just talked about, a number of other players as well. So beloved Houston Outlaws player Raucus has officially said, I am leaving the Overwatch League scene. And where's he moving to, John? He's moving to Valorant, just like a lot of these other Overwatch League pros. So now I think the bigger story here is that 3 of the 7 recent Overwatch League World Championship winning players have now left the scene. We're talking the MVP of the Overwatch League last season. We're talking Corey, who is arguably a top 5 DPS on most people's list. And now we're talking Raucus. I think Raucus is still a step lower than those other 2, but overall, it's still another big player, another player I would say that the franchise really rallied behind. Raucus has been with the Outlaws for quite a few years now, and it's one of those things that now he's moving on, not only to another team, but moving on scenes completely. It's another big hit to Overwatch League. Again, it's just one player in a sea of many, many players out there, but to lose talented players like Sinatra, Corey, Raucus, and a number of other ones, I think Baby Bay left as well. Like there's a number of big players missing, and it's going to be hard to fill those voids without a couple of years of practice for these younger players in that contender scene that's arguably kind of shaky at times. So if I'm the Overwatch League, if I'm Blizzard Entertainment now, I mean, you on one have to be banking on Overwatch League 2 or Overwatch 2 doing really well. It's one of those things that could reinvigorate the scene, not only on an esports level, but also just on a player-based level. Again, Overwatch is not struggling in any way for players. They still have tons of players out there. It's just not at the height that a lot of people expect it to be at this point. I think this is where you start saying, maybe not necessarily worry completely if you're the league, but it's one of those things you got to start looking at. Why are we losing players? Why are players more attracted to Valorant? Is it the gameplay? How can we adjust Overwatch League? Is it the scene? How can we be more professional with our esports scene? I think that's just one of those questions, and I don't know the answer in particular, but the Overwatch League and Blizzard is going to have to answer it sooner than later.
Yeah, and something else to take into account also with these moves. It's like, yes, you are losing a talent from Overwatch to Valorant. But the other thing, too, is with Overwatch League having this experiment of being city-based, okay, they're not a Cloud9, they're not a TSM, they're not a Fnatic, they're not an organization that exists internationally. They are a city-based team. What happens when you have a city-based team? You get your city community around that team. You get the region around that area invested in that team. How? By connecting the fans with the players, making that emotional connection, making that attachment, saying, hey, I want to go out and drop what are Overwatch League jerseys up to now? Something absolutely ridiculous, like $150 on an Overwatch League jersey of this player because I like the way he plays, I like the way he streams, I like his personality, and I can identify with this person. So they've dropped hard-earned money to buy that jersey. Now that person gets up and leaves the scene completely and goes to Valorant. That hurts from a local fan base level when that happens. Yes, it happens all the time in traditional sports. I get that. But here's the thing. Baseball has been around for over 100 years. Same with hockey. American football, I don't think it's 100 years. Last year was a 100-year anniversary. So you're talking like when you compare it with traditional sports, you're talking 100+ years of fandom and relationships within the city versus esports with this new experiment of city-based organizations. It's a huge blow. When Corey left Washington Justice, I felt like that was a huge blow for Justice fans. When you take a look at, social media when he left, a lot of people were absolutely shocked. Same thing here with Rockets leaving the Outlaws, a beloved fan-friendly player, leaving that organization. It hurts, and it's going to hurt the fan base going forward.
Yeah, and it's one of those other things, too. Like, we don't know when this is going to end either. This could obviously bleed out CSGO players, Overwatch League players for quite a while now. I think I don't want to say the bigger story, but it's a little crazy to me that a lot of these players are leaving mid-season as well. They're giving up, not going all the way. They're saying, hey, we see that this Valorant scene is attempting to develop now. Let's drop now, make our way from Overwatch League to Valorant, trying to find our team while everyone's still kind of scuttling around, trying to figure out funding, trying to see what the scene is going to build into. Obviously, some big contracts going out there. I don't know numbers, but I would assume Sinatra's contract is pretty high. To leave the Overwatch League as an MVP and already make that move over to Sentinels and Valorant, I would assume it's got to be up there number-wise. Some of these other contracts, these newer players, probably not as high. A lot of these players also being CSGO players who may have been on high-level teams or players who may have been trying to find their way on a high-level teams and weren't able to. So I think that's one thing to keep in mind, too, just that vast variety of salary currently in Valorant. But yeah, I don't think this is the last player to leave. I think many more will probably leave the Overwatch League. I'm not saying it's going to be a crazy shift of people from CSGO and Overwatch, but I do see more and more players starting to move the way into Valorant, as well as young players coming up in these other scenes like CSGO and Overwatch League as well. This next one's kind of exciting, John. We're actually shifting gears from Valorant over to FIFA. Dribble this one around. Red Bull has announced their first African esports athlete, South Africa FIFA pro, Thabo Malloy. He is going to be the first Red Bull athlete representing the continent of Africa. I'm super stoked for this. I think this is one cool thing. And really, when we look at gaming in general, there are very few games that have the reach that FIFA does. You could probably argue Minecraft and League of Legends in some cases, but FIFA is one of those games that everyone really understands worldwide. Yes, soccer and football are not the biggest thing here in the United States. When you look at almost every other country, it is the biggest sport. It's very affordable for a lot of poorer countries that are like third world. To buy a soccer ball is a lot easier than buying football pads, for example. So it's a lot more accessible, a lot more easier to play. Yes, this involves a console, obviously, as a platform here, but FIFA in general is much more relatable in certain African countries. This is cool. This is Red Bull saying, hey, we have made our investments in Europe. We've made them in Asia. We've made them in North America. It's time to continue extending our reach. Let's try something different. Now going over to South Africa and signing a FIFA Pro. Overall, he's 18 years old, the top FIFA player on PS4 in South Africa, and 73rd in the world on PlayStation. Huge win for Red Bull. Huge win for Africa. Huge win for Tabo here as well. I absolutely love this move.
Yeah, and it's a common theme we've seen over the past year and a half in esports is trying to evolve the scene outside of the Western Hemisphere and outside of your main Asian countries. And Africa is a continent that is something that a lot of organizations have looked at. The Middle East is another region that esports have looked at to try to expand. I like this move, and using FIFA as that vehicle, if you will, to expand the reach of esports and what positivity that can come from esports into different regions of the world. I absolutely love this move. Red Bull has doubled down in what they're doing. Originally known for like their sponsorship into like extreme games, you'll see them advertised with X Games. They started to move into video games. They started to get more and more involved in soccer. When you take a look at like the New York Red Bulls, RB Leipzig, Salzburg, all owned by Red Bull. They're doubling down on what they're doing, and they're a large global company, so they understand how to expand their market. And now they're doing it with esports as well, expanding their market by signing the first pro player. Well, first pro South African player. There we go. To
Continent of Africa.
Continent of Africa. There you go. Complete continent of Africa. There you go. Pro FIFA player. I was going to get there sooner or later. It's a huge deal. It's absolutely massive, and it's showing how esports can reach to every corner of the planet.
Absolutely. Next up, Antarctica, guys. Stay tuned. Splinter Cell, John. So everyone wants a Splinter Cell game. Everyone's looking at this Ubisoft, and I say everyone, but it's a ton of people. If you look at Twitter, if you look at Reddit, where is Splinter Cell? There's little leaks over in China coming out. Everyone's like, ooh, we're getting a new Splinter Cell. Everyone watches the Ubisoft showcase, and guess what? No Splinter Cell. But, John, we are getting Splinter Cell. It's not going to be a new game. It's not going to be necessarily a mobile game. It's not going to be a console game. Not going to be a PC game. It's going to be an animated Netflix series. I mean, I'm cool with this. I'm not going to turn down a chance at having a Splinter Cell animated series. But this is not what people necessarily wanted. They want this new game, and maybe there's still one coming later this year, and it will get shown at another PlayStation or Xbox show later down the road. But it's one of those things like, okay, the fans are starving for a game, and they're going to throw this bone of a Splinter Cell animated series. I think it could be good. I think it could be well done, but I just don't see this is what gamers want right now.
I mean, it is technically mobile. You can watch Netflix on your phone or on your tablet. I mean, if we want to go down there. Joey, look. My biggest issue with a Splinter Cell TV show is the track record of TV shows and movies based upon video games. It's horrific. And like even like the Ultra Kitty Sonic the Hedgehog version TV shows are pretty freaking cringy from time to time of how bad they can be. The writer behind John Wick's doing it. Cool. That's awesome.
Is John Wick that good? I don't remember it that well.
It's been a while. I didn't watch the most recent one either. But I think that's the biggest concern is the fact that everything leading up to this point when it comes to video games in Hollywood, either movies or TV shows, has been like on a scale of 1 to 10, a 3 and below. That's what makes me nervous. Like if you're going to mess with something that has such a huge, massive, rabid fan base, if you will, it better be good. Cause like even the World of Warcraft movie, Warcraft, wasn't good. Like they took liberties with the lore and the storyline and just completely shattered everything. Now, yeah, you can find positives out of anything. But with this is kind of on the same lines, dare I say, as when Blizzard announced Diablo Mobile. Just kind of everyone's like, okay, I know there's a Diablo announcement coming. It's going to be mobile. Oh, that's not what I want at all. Yes, I know there's a Splinter Cell coming. it's going to be a Netflix TV series. That is. All right. Let's see how bad this is going to get.
Okay, I think it's going to do well. I do. I think like it's one of those things, and I agree, and we've talked about this. I feel like every time a new gaming movie comes out, there's a couple that stick out to me. Prince of Persia was all right. The Witcher did really well on Netflix recently. But overall, there's not that many, and you hit on that. There are just not that many gaming movies or games that translate to movies that well. And one of the issues I feel like is the storyline. When gamers come to watch these movies, they know how the storyline played out in the game, and they want either A, it replicated, or B, it being different without destroying the lore. Neither of which are very easy to do because, one, they don't want to sell the same storyline that has already been out in the game because then some gamers are just not going to come. Others are going to be bored because they already know the ending. But then if they take it another path and avoid the lore completely, you potentially lose some of that connection with those fans as well. It's no win-win really from a lot of these movie maker perspectives. Splinter Cell. I think Splinter Cell could be done really well. I think it could be done well as a live action. You look at stuff like Mission Impossible. You look at, gosh, I can't think of, what's the one with John Krasinski in it on Amazon that's doing quite well? You know what I'm talking about?
Oh.
Useless. I swear.
Yes, no. I know exactly what you're talking about. It's,
I can't think of it. It's like Mission Impossible with John Krasinski. I can't think of the name of it. But it's doing really well. And I think Splinter Cell as a live action could kind of fit into those categories a little bit, maybe with a bit more stealth perspective, just given the theme of the show. As an animated series, I don't think it'll be terrible either. I think they have potential with it. But again, for me, it's the timing. You have all these mad hungry fans that want Splinter Cell games, and you're going to come out and say, hey, we're not going to give you a game, but we're going to give you a TV show. And honestly, John, I think your comparison with the Diablo announcement at BlizzCon is perfectly online. I mean, yes, they got a game in that sense, but they thought it was a PC game. It's been teased for years over years. They're ready for Diablo 4, and they didn't get it. They got a freaking mobile game. And then Blizzard comes out and what? What do they say? You guys have phones, or don't you guys have phones? Like, what a smart aleck or Mark. And it's one of those things, like, obviously Netflix is doing this independently from the studio. It's different with Blizzard making the game as well. And Netflix is just purely looking at expanding their catalog. But it's one of those things, too. It's like the timing of it. I think people will watch it. I think it will do decently well overall. But it's just the timing just doesn't feel right for me. Netflix, however, has secured 2 seasons already. It's going to be 8 episodes apiece. So we are looking at 16 episodes over the course of 2 seasons. I don't know if that means yearly seasons or split up like winter versus spring. So we'll have to see how that ends up looking. But for now, they are buying into it, and we'll see how it goes.
And 10 points to chat. Jack Ryan is the name of that
Jack
Amazon.
Ryan.
I couldn't believe. I knew it was a Tom Clancy based show, and I couldn't remember Jack Ryan. Absolutely horrific. Yeah, I'm hopeful, but yeah, it's kind of surprising that it's already locked for 2 seasons without having anything being aired so far. But I'm optimistic.
think I like it as 2 seasons with it being 8 episodes, though. Like, if we're talking like 2 25-episode seasons, I think it's outrageous. Is it just me that feels that way, or do you feel like it's a little bit simpler with 8 episodes?
I feel like it's a little bit simpler with 8 episodes. I mean, really, when you take a look at the average TV show, you're looking at anywhere from like 16 plus. So really, you're taking a full season, breaking it in half, calling it 2 seasons. 8 episodes for Netflix. We're talking like, what, 45 minutes to an hour? Maybe, if not your standard 23 to 30 minute episode. It's not gonna cost you that much. And if it doesn't work after 16 episodes, you cut it loose. No harm, no foul. In the world of entertainment, it's chump change.
And shout out to Alex in chat for that on the Jack Ryan. John, do you want to try to pronounce the username there? This is where
the real Zataran.
Oh, I think that's close. I don't think there's an R there. I think it's the real Zatarian.
Zatar. Yeah. You know.
Anyway, shout out to Alex. Thank you for Jack Ryan. Obviously, John and I were struggling on that one, so big shout out there. Next on the docket, John, is Obsidian's newest game. It's a small one. It's a little tiny. It even moves you all the way to the ground. Grounded has dominated Twitch streams this past week, and Steam sales charts are off in favor of Grounded. John, this has been the #1 selling game on Steam almost all week long. And this was a game that tons of fans, whether they be PlayStation, whether they be Xbox, they're like, it's just a little game. It's not a AA game. It's only going into early access. It's not going to be that big, no pun intended. But it ended up popping off. This is a game that many streamers have picked up. I can't say if they were paid or not. You never really know. But for it to be topping Steam sales charts, on PC, and this is on PC with it also on Game Pass on PC. So you could pay $1 to $5 a month to get this on PC, and people are paying the full $30 for this in early access. You and I did have the chance to try the beta for this one. We absolutely loved it. And guys, if you're interested, it's now on Game Pass and Steam as well as Xbox, and exclusively on PC and Xbox as of right now. I think this is a fun game. I've not dove into the full version or the early access version yet, but I'm stoked to get some playtime in.
Yeah, other than gigantic spiders jumping at you when you're not paying attention and absolutely terrifying you, it's going to be absolutely fantastic. No, I had a chance to play it. I love it. I think it's a great game. It's kind of refreshing. It's not your current run of the mill style game that has been put out there in the past 5 years. It's kind of refreshing a little bit, where it's a little more co-op. It's a little more sandboxy almost. It feels like you can do what you want to do in these levels with your friends while you're playing. I like it. Just not a fan of the spiders.
Yeah, and I think it's a fresh take on the survival genre as well. Like, obviously, Ark is out there, very popular. Atlas is out there by the same makers. I've never been a big survival person. I mean, as a person who's tried those games, I feel like it's fun to play with friends. I never would have spent a ton of time in them without friends. So overall, I think it's one of those categories that I can't really judge myself. But I love the idea of them taking kind of like a Honey, I Shrunk the Kids idea, throwing it into a game. And this is just early access. So we still have a ton of content to come. I believe in a developer interview, they said it's only about 10% of the main story that's currently included. So once it leaves out of early access, we're going to get that full story. We're going to get a ton more features that they're looking at the community to build upon, like riding insects is not currently in the game. They're developing that because people want to do that. One of the other big things that's not in there is weather. A lot of people have said they want like a big downpour to come and for it to change the environment and make the gameplay different. So that's something the developers are looking to build into. Graphically, I think I'm going to say the players look cartoony, but overall the gameplay itself, it does look cartoony, but it looks very clean. Like, you actually feel like you're in the game. And I can't say a lot of games have done that to me. Like, when I play them, I feel like I'm playing the game. I feel like I'm enjoying it. If it's Gears of War, if it's Halo, if it's Valorant. But when I'm done, I'm done. In Grounded, it almost feels like you feel small. It feels like you're down there. You're seeing these giant insects. And yes, I'm going to scream if I turn around and see a giant wolf spider behind me. And I guess horror games can have that same effect, but this doesn't ship itself as a horror game. And I think the fact that it accomplishes that level of thrill, level of intensity, but also is that fun survival game with a little bit of a new twist to it, really does it well. And so far on Steam, they agree. So we will check that out. Maybe we'll talk about it on Thursday's show if we get a chance to play that before. There is a lot going on this week, so we'll keep you updated on that. Halo Infinite's multiplayer is moving free to play for Halo Infinite. This is something new for the Halo series. It's never been free to play multiplayer, at least to my knowledge, before. Obviously, Halo Master Chief Collection is cheap. It's $30. It's not free to play, but it is relatively cheap to get all those titles in one package, but it's not free to play. Halo Infinite going free to play here. On top of that, they've said that they're going to support up to 120 frames per second on console, which to my knowledge isn't heard of. I think most games are 30 frames per second on console right now. Some people are shooting for 60 for this next generation or toward the end of this generation. Now jumping all the way to 120 for multiplayer, I think is a huge statement, not only from Xbox, but from Halo as well. I think one thing that this says is esports. How do you look at successful esports titles? You look at League of Legends, you look at CSGO, you look at Dota 2. Most of these games are free or very cheap. I think this is what Halo's going for here. They're saying we're releasing day one on console and PC. And on top of that, our multiplayer is free. Whether you want to jump into the campaign and play with Craig the Brood or not, now you have the ability to jump into this multiplayer, and they're hoping it goes mainstream. Will it be the next Fortnite? Will it be the next League of Legends? No one really knows. But I think as a older generation trying to capitalize on A, nostalgia, but two, trying to bring in those young gamers, those young viewers as well, free-to-play is the way to go. I argued against Overwatch for not doing this. I love the fact that Halo's coming out right out of the gate and doing it.
Yeah, I think it's great. I just hope they don't go the same route we saw with Warzone. We have to download like 90 gigs of the game just to play like the 12 gig game for like their battle royale. But yeah, I like it. I think it's smart. Multiplayer is where it's at. I mean, and you know, if you're on Xbox, do we know if Xbox is going to keep their Xbox Gold subscription package?
We do not officially.
Okay, so that's still up in the air. You know, if you are still paying for online access, you know, arguably you can make the case that Microsoft has beaten Sony's you-know-what when it comes to online stability, when it comes to offering those online services. So, I mean, even then, it's still worth your money if you already have the Xbox Gold subscription for online play. I mean, it's smart. It's smart. It's going to introduce more people to your game, and who knows, it may increase your sales overall for the base game for the story, for the PvE version of the game as well. For people, I really like this game. I want to know a little bit more about the lore. I want to actually play through this game also and see what it's about. You may pick up, a few 100,000 sales extra that way by offering your multiplayer as free to play versus a paid gate to play it.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things, too, that you kind of touched on briefly there is the Xbox Live, and I think that's almost the bigger story. This is huge for Halo as a game, huge as Halo for esports, but when it comes to Xbox Live, I think this also signals the going away of Xbox Live. Maybe not fully, but I think it's pretty much fully going to happen here in September. What they're going to do is they're going to couple Game Pass with xCloud. They're going to say, hey, goodbye, Xbox Live. Thank you for supporting it. We're going to convert all of your Xbox Live time or months left or whatever to Game Pass for the equivalent amount. Then they're going to hope that hooks people on Game Pass. I think that's what's going to happen. Whether it does, I'm not really sure, but I would assume this is an announcement that's going to be made either this month or next month, and it's going to end up with that conversion, trying to hook people into Game Pass. But regardless if they buy it or not, I think Xbox Live will be free moving forward come this fall. Just briefly, guys, the Microsoft Store on Xbox is also getting a huge overhaul that got announced today. We're not going to really touch on it too much on the show because it's more of a visual thing than anything. There is a really good article done by Xbox Wire, though, if you guys want to check that out. A few other websites, I think The Verge, Windows Central did another video of just kind of looking through the store, and then Major Nelson over on Xbox did as well. So go ahead and check that out. If you guys are on PC, it looks a lot like the Xbox app does now. It's kind of that cleaner interface, a little bit more responsive, a little bit more we'll say user-friendly and clean. It actually looks like it belongs in this century instead of last. So I think that's a huge upgrade for Microsoft. Over to what some people would argue is their biggest competitor. Some people would not. But this is Sony, and they have announced a state of play for Thursday, August 6th. This came out earlier today. It's going to be Thursday, August 6th at 1 p.m. Pacific time for those marking their calendars now. John, this is going to focus on upcoming PS4 and PSVR games, a few check-ins on third-party as well as indie games from June's showcase, and then no big PS5 announcements. That's the big ticker for me. Are you looking forward to the state of play?
Yes. I mean, it's great. What better way to combat your biggest competitor in Microsoft if you're Sony, if you're going into next generation of console wars, than to talk about the console that is coming to an end, their generation coming to an end. Joey, regardless of how people feel in the Xbox versus PlayStation debate, fanboydom, if you will, Xbox has been killing it. Microsoft has absolutely been killing it. Their most recent show, a lot of mixed reviews. A lot of people give them a 5 out of 10, a 6 out of 10, But like we've discussed before, that show was geared to get you hooked on 1, 2, maybe 3 games out of all those announcements to get you excited for the next generation console. Maybe to make you consider that Game Pass. That is such an incredible deal, with more and more rumors coming out with how much a next gen game is going to cost, close to $70 or $80. So it's going to be very, very expensive for games coming out in the future, but yet for $5 a month, you can play all of them. That was a real takeaway. What's Sony going to do? They're going to focus on their last generation console. They're going to focus on essentially what Microsoft isn't doing. If Microsoft came out and started talking about the Xbox 360, I bet a lot of people would be like, why? It makes no sense. Or the Xbox One. Why? Like, yeah, you can dabble with it saying that it's going to be, the games are going to be compatible with, or you get the free upgrade to, but at the end of the day, like, why are you talking about a console in a generation that's dying? And not dying in the sense of, oh, it's just bad. It's dying in the sense of it's coming of age. It's done. It's moving on to the next generation. It makes no sense. Cool. VR games. Awesome. At the end of the day, a VR-based computer is going to be a lot more powerful than a console-based VR system. I feel like Sony is dropping the ball once again if this is what they're truly sticking to.
I don't get it. So originally I had this date leaked. I had the date right for the showcase, but some of the information that was leaked to me is no longer happening. This was supposed to be kind of their ball drop moment. This was where they're going to drop. I knew of at least 2 unannounced titles that they were going to show at this for the PS5, both of which it doesn't sound like will be shown if they're doing no big PS5 announcements. So I'm kind of disappointed. If you're PlayStation, I don't think your showcase in June was amazing. I think it was good. I think it was probably like a 7.5, 8 maybe on my rating scale. When I look at Xbox, I think they were about that same. Neither one really showed a ton of gameplay. It was a lot of trailers. PlayStation fanboys will forget that and say, oh, yeah, we did really great in that area. But both showed a little bit of gameplay, but it really wasn't that much. It was a lot of trailers and a lot of third-party games. There were some first-party games here and there, but again, it was focused on trailers for those games. The third-party games they showed, they're going to be exclusive for a little while on the consoles, but not much longer than that. So I think that's my biggest thing here. Xbox is fresh in people's mind. Everyone's like, there was not enough gameplay. It was too many trailers. There were a ton of games that did not interest me. This is where Sony needs to put the foot on the throat. They've been down to Xbox for a lot of these announcements. They haven't had the hype factor that Xbox has. They haven't had that consumer-friendly approach. And now you're going to go out here and do PS4 showcases and VR showcases, which you shut down 2 VR studios last year that they worked on a game for 5 years and it's still not coming out. Like, I don't quite get this approach from Sony. And I think they're going to sell a ton of consoles. I don't think this is going to change that at all. But I think this is one of those things, like, now you have a chance to jump back in here. You're gonna have a huge market share regardless, but you could really put it down and dig more Xbox fans away from the console. And you're just not going to do it here with the way you're approaching it. It doesn't even sound like they're going to show new third-party games. It's just going to be highlights of stuff from June. So does that mean we're going to get like Bug Snacks gameplay? Like, are we that interested in Bug Snacks? I mean, it's just one of those things like, come on, Sony, you got to do a little bit better than this. I think I get it. I think it's revolved around the price too, because Xbox showed some of their big things, but they held a lot back. I know Xbox held back at least 7 titles. So maybe Sony's playing that waiting game once again. Like, okay, Microsoft, do your August event, and then we'll show our stuff in September. Sony and Microsoft, we can go back and forth all day, but eventually Christmas time is going to get here. The holidays are going to be here, and you got to sell those consoles. So, like, how much longer are we going to go back and forth on this? I think we're going to get price announcements here soon. If Sony doesn't pull the news, and it doesn't sound like they're going to, I think Xbox says, hey, guys, we've waited long enough. We don't even have to sell consoles this generation because we're breaking out our strategy to different platforms. I think Xbox announces their price first in August if it keeps going like this. So yeah, State of Play. I was stoked for the State of Play. There are some games that I really want to talk about that are supposed to drop. One of them was a huge favorite of mine on PS2, and it's finally coming back. And I just really want them to show it, but they're going to make it delayed once again.
Say it. Say it. Say
I don't
it.
want to leak too much here. We'll wait a little bit longer, but I know at least 2 titles. I don't know what else is coming. I know there's some third-party stuff in the works too, so we'll talk about that soon. But John, one other thing that PlayStation did today that kind of pissed me off. They have confirmed that Spider-Man will be exclusive to PlayStation's version of the upcoming Marvel's Avengers game. We get it. They own the movie rights for Spider-Man, and they feel very happy about that. They've had their little arguments back and forward with Marvel, like, hey, you can use him in this movie, but not in this movie, and we'll let you do this, but you can't touch Spider-Man in that way. It's like, okay, I get it, Sony. You feel privileged in that sense. He's your character. You should utilize him to your benefit at this point for the rights that you have. I think when it comes down to video game rights, so I want to say those fall under Marvel and Disney. So I don't even know if this was completely Sony. I think this is Sony paying for it, but I don't think they necessarily have the gaming rights. I believe that does fall under that Disney umbrella. The big thing for me here, I get it. You want to sell consoles. You have one entry point to your system outside of PlayStation now that's not all that successful. You're going to try to bring people to your console. You're going to do that through exclusive games, through potential hardware. Like if your hardware is really strong, through innovation of like your controller, like PS5, you can blow into the controller and move your character. Like, wow, exciting. But one of those ways is exclusive content. I get it. There's timed releases for games. Xbox does them. PlayStation does them. Nintendo does them and never gives them away. It's one of those things that I get you're going to have to capitalize on. But in-game content, I freaking hate when they do this. And everyone has done this. Xbox has done it. PlayStation has done it. It drives me crazy. Destiny. PlayStation did it with Destiny. Why? If I'm paying full price for a game, I should get the same amount of content. Soul Calibur has done it in a different way. Soul Calibur did it where every game got an exclusive character. Xbox got Yoda. I think PlayStation got Darth Vader. I don't even know what Nintendo got. Maybe Mario. Who knows? But overall, it's one of those things like, okay, I'm paying for a full game. Give me all the content. I'm totally fine if someone wants an exclusive game for a year and they give it to all consoles. I get that. I think it sells. I think that's fine. When you cut content out of a full game, it drives me crazy if it's not exclusive. I think Spider-Man is completely PlayStation and forever will be for this game. Not a fan of this move, regardless if you're PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo, whatever. I don't think this is a win for gamers in any sense.
So what's your opinion on Pokemon constantly splitting up their generations between multiple games?
But see, Nintendo owns all of that.
It is,
You
you're
know
right.
you're going to play a Pokemon game on a Nintendo Switch. A Marvel Avengers game, you could play it on any of these. PC, Xbox, Nintendo, whatever it's coming to. But now you can only play Spider-Man and sling your webs on PlayStation. It'll sell PlayStations, I'm sure, for those huge Spider-Man fans. But as a gamer in general, I just don't think this is a win for the industry.
But who should you be more mad at? Sony or the fact that sold it to Sony?
I'm pissed at both of them. I think it's stupid. I mean, I get it. If I'm Disney, I'm not going to turn down a big paycheck from Sony. If I'm Sony and I know I have to sell consoles, I'm probably going to look at making deals. I just wish exclusive content within full games was not the deals they looked at. Okay, anything else you want to say on Spider-Man and his web slinging only on PlayStation?
I love me some Spider-Man. I don't know if it's going to convince me to buy a PlayStation 5, though.
I don't know if it's going to convince me to buy Marvel's Avengers in general. But we will wait on that. Riot, the owner of League of Legends, Valorant, and many other games to come, they have confirmed that the 2020 League of Legends World Championship will still be happening. Not only will it be happening, but it will still be happening in China as well. That is confirmed. Obviously, COVID-19 and the coronavirus outbreak has made some of that unsure with the way things are shutting down. Competitions, whether it be sporting, esporting, and alike, have been shutting down worldwide. They have come out. They've said, we're still doing this. It might look a little bit differently. It might not be all in person. We might not have an audience. Some of that is definitely going to change, but overall, Worlds is still happening and people are stoked for it. Speaking of Worlds, though, John, and we can break this down a little bit more, but one other giant point here. Chinese live streaming platform LvLUp has secured a 3-year deal with Riot, granting the company exclusive broadcasting rights to LOL Worlds, MSI, and All-Stars in China. We're talking 3 events a year for 3 years, a total of 9 events. They paid $113 million for that deal. Now, just to break that down and make a little comparison here, our good old friends at Blizzard in the Overwatch League, YouTube paid them $160 million for 3 years of exclusivity for Blizzard Esports. So we're talking LvLUp and Riot paid $113 million for 3 years, 9 events, maybe 18 days, maybe a little bit. Worlds is obviously bigger, a decent chunk of time. But then you have a whole league for 3 years going for $160 million. We're talking like probably 5 times the amount of games for just a little bit more money. This is crazy to me. It almost feels like Blizzard was robbed in comparison.
Yeah, but, can you really blame them, though? I mean, when you take a look at the valuation of League of Legends, when you take a look at the viewership market, especially in China, when we're talking millions of people worldwide tune in for these events, compared to Overwatch League, that on a good day, and I'm sorry, Overwatch League, on a good day, might pull 50,000. Might pull 50,000. On a really hyped up final, maybe a couple 100,000. It's
just going to interject there for 1 second, though. So one thing to keep in mind, when they signed that contract, their viewership was much higher. Because they signed it at the end of season 2.
It is, but it's not League of Legends high. It's nowhere close. It was not in comparison. So, obviously now looking back at it, the viewership has dropped off. The deal done at the end of season 2 was definitely a lot higher than it currently is in season 3. Yes, there's a lot of things going into season 3 that's affecting their viewership, but that doesn't stop the story for Overwatch League that their viewership has been in steady decline for over a year now. When you take a look at League of Legends, especially these 3 events, Worlds, MSI, and All-Stars, they have been growing constantly and they've been stable. That's a big thing, either being stable when it comes to the viewership or growing. Though that is a recipe for success when it comes to making these kinds of deals. So yeah, I mean, it makes sense why League of Legends broadcasting rights are going to be that much more expensive for 3 events for 3 years, 9 events overall for $113 million. It makes sense, at least in my opinion.
No, I think it definitely makes sense. I think the numbers, they were definitely more comparable at the end of season 2 when the YouTube contract was signed. But looking at the way esports has grown, looking at what Riot has done, and you can look farther back. Obviously, Blizzard had 2 seasons at that point when this contract was signed. You can only look at a certain amount of numbers over those seasons. With Riot, you can almost look back 8, 9 seasons when this deal is being signed because they've been around for so long. They've shown success. They've shown growth, especially leagues like the LEC. The LEC in Europe is doing extremely well. They definitely signed questionable partnerships here and there. But overall, as a league, they're continuing to grow viewership. They're continuing to grow those storylines. The caster team over there is absolutely amazing, and the fans just continue to show up. Even not in person, they show up online on the comments, on Reddit, everywhere. It's a huge win. Riot has shown that they've brought back sponsors as well. You look at someone like KitKat, who joined into that LEC broadcast. They enjoyed it. They supposedly saw a return of some sort, and they bought back in again. A lot of these sponsors are returning, and a lot of them are signing on for bigger deals. I think that plays into it as well. So I don't think it's necessarily a crazy valuation here. I think the big difference is you're looking at 9 events over the course of 3 years versus a season that includes championships, includes events on the way, going for just about 50 million more, 40 million more here, which is just incredible to look at the valuation of the depth of esports right now and how different scenes are weighted against each other. But other than that, John, I'm stoked for Worlds. I'm sure you're stoked for Worlds. Both of our teams not performing so well, with you and Cloud9 over in NA and me with Fnatic and EU. They're both leaving a lot to be desired right now, but overall, I'm glad to see Worlds again. I hope both teams qualify, and either way, I'm sure we're going to have a great competition ahead of us.
Yeah, that desire is for quality and skill on the Rift. Anywho.
Next up, guys, is VALORANT Act 2, which drops on August 4th. We have another show Thursday, so we're not going to touch a ton on this until we've had our hands on Killjoy. But to talk a little bit about her, John, she comes out with some, let's say, questionable abilities when it comes to tactical shooters. CSGO is a big example out there. It's done very well in the tactical shooter genre, one of the most popular FPS games in the world. There are no abilities, so that is a big difference between it and VALORANT. You look at Overwatch, one of the characters who has been, 2 of them who've been criticized a lot are Symmetra and Torbjorn. Part of the reason is because they have turrets. Now we have skills, we have tactical shooter, and they're adding turrets into VALORANT. Trying to think of what direction I want to take this, because I'm not sure if I should be concerned yet or not. I don't like the idea of deployable turrets in VALORANT. I think it has the potential to take away the competitive integrity of the game. But at the same point, Riot is one of those developers who I think actually balances pretty well. People are going to argue time and time again that the Lux ult is too strong in League of Legends or whatever, but it's one of those things that I think overall they do a decent job balancing outside of a couple broken champions here and there that might make through in a certain patch. So I trust them as developers. League of Legends is different than VALORANT. It is a different dev team behind it in general. But so far, they haven't really given me too much of a reason to negate them outside of their giantly priced, very high-priced skins. But yeah, I'm optimistic. I'm nervous, but at least from the videos, it doesn't look like the turret does like breaking damage. If it like 3-shot someone, I think that would be an issue. But with it taking a number of shots to even get a kill, I'm a little bit more optimistic for this change.
Yeah, like if it draws a player's attention away from the objective, then you can easily put it right up there with a Cypher tripwire. You know, if you get stuck on the tripwire and you don't shoot it, yeah, it does some damage to you also, and it disorients your character. I feel like if that's on the same level where it does a fraction of damage, it punishes you if you don't pay attention to it. And if you do pay attention to it and you forget your surroundings, you get punished on point as well. I feel like if they go that route and they make it more like a Cypher-based kit, in the sense that it's really used as a utility and a distraction more than it is for locking down a site or for potentially taking a site, like chucking a turret in the back of a point and taking out 3 players, I think that would be way, way, way OP. Obviously, it's probably not going to happen. So, again, I agree with you. I want to get my hands on Killjoy. I want to see how she plays. I want to get a little more research on her. But I'll be honest, I'm not a huge fan of her kit. I don't like the idea of turrets, but I will give it a shot.
And just to run through that kit quickly, we have Alarm Bot. Equips a covert alarm bot, fire to deploy a bot that hunts down enemies that get in range. After reaching its target, the bot explodes, applying vulnerable. I'm trying to think, like for those who play League of Legends, it's kind of like Ornn, where you have that ability that kind of makes them a bit weaker to damage. That's what the Alarm Bot's doing here. You can also recall it as well. Turret. Equip the turret, fire to deploy a turret that fires at enemies in a 180-degree cone. The big play around this, John, is I think it's going to make people have to check corners. If you go around a corner and maybe the bot doesn't kill you, but you take 2 or 3 shots from this turret, that could be a game changer in a game like VALORANT. On top of that, you can also recall this turret as well. Nano Swarm. Think a giant swarm of hives that come, or bees or wasp or whatever that come out of grenade. Equipped a Nano Swarm grenade, fire to throw the grenade. Upon landing, the Nano Swarm goes covert, activating the Nano Swarm to deploy a damaging swarm of nanobots. And last but not least, and this one's game-changing in my opinion, the ultimate ability, Lockdown. Equip the Lockdown device, fire to deploy the device. After a long windup, the device detains all enemies caught in the radius. The device can be destroyed by enemies. I think this one's going to be hard to play around. As a team with someone like this on your team, I think Killjoy has a lot of potential, but it's going to be one of those things that they have to be very strategic with the use of lockdown. Coupling this with abilities, like imagine lockdown going down, and then people go in there, they see the device, and they're trying to react to it, but then you have a Sage Slow or a Sage Wall, and they got to try to find another entrance, but they don't have enough time to, so they get stuck in lockdown. And then the Brimstone on the team calls down his ultimate. I mean, it could be very cool for comboing and a lot of those fun, like, I guess you can still call them AoE in this game, but some of those area of effect combos where you can kind of wombo things together and really make things dangerous. It has that ability, but the play out timer is very, very long on lockdown, so it's going to cause a lot of strategy to be played by teams. This is where I think you start seeing high-level players even accelerate more. Right now, a lot of it's mechanics, some of it's basic level strategy as well, but now throwing this into there, I think it adds another layer of strategy where we see that gap between maybe Immortal players and Diamond players start to expand even more. For now, John, let's hold off on talking more about Killjoy until we've had a chance to actually play with her kit. Again, she drops August 4th. One other big note, and it's been very well requested many, many times over on Twitter, Reddit, everywhere you could pretty much make a post. That is a free-for-all deathmatch type of mode. It's now coming. Not the end of the episode, but the end of the act. For Act 2 beginning, we have a 10-player free-for-all deathmatch entering into a beta mode in a sense. It's going to be 30 kills to win like most free-for-all modes currently are. Players can buy any guns in the mode. They're also going to spawn with heavy armor. So if you want to be cocky and use no armor, it is not a choice, unfortunately. But go ahead, grab your pistol and try your best out there, friends. You can buy any guns. You get heavy armor, and it's going to be 3-second delays on respawns. John, this is the warm-up mode I wanted. I enjoy Spike Rush. I get it. It's fun. It's a nice little alternative. Some of the things are a little tilting, like the distortion or whatever that thing is. It's like, okay, is this necessary? I get it. It's fun. It's different. It's interesting. But I want something that I can just run around and aim. I want something like the training range in a sense, but where I'm not playing against bots, I'm playing against real people. It can kind of be more in motion, an actual real world environment if you give it so. I think this does it. I think this is a new way for players to warm up, and I think this will be highly acclaimed.
Yeah, I think it's smart. A deathmatch mode is very popular. It's stood the test of time. It's been in almost every multiplayer online shooter game for at least the last 10, 15, 20 years, maybe. I don't know. It's been out there for a while. It's very, very popular. And I think this is a step in the right direction for Valorant. I like the idea. I agree with you. I think it's going to be a solid warm-up. Or for some people that may not like the strategy of, two teams, going after an objective kind of thing, this may attract more people to Valorant with this new game mode as well. So I think it's a win-win. I like it, and I'll definitely be checking it out too.
Yeah, and that's one thing the Valorant team has been very stingent on. They want it to stay with that bomb, the attack defend mode. Now that they're giving something like this, I don't know if we get a traditional like team deathmatch coming anytime soon or a domination or anything like that. But I think this is a step forward for some of those more casual players. Maybe they don't want to play the attack and defend type of style that CSGO brought to the table. Maybe they just want something a bit more casual. Maybe they eventually translate to the attack and defense style. Maybe they don't. I think this is a new way to welcome players, though. Glitch Pop, John. This is a new skin line coming out. I teased it a little while ago. It's a little cyberpunk themed. We do not know the pricing yet, and I'm a little scared to know the pricing if I'm being completely honest. But what are your thoughts on the new Glitch Pop skin set?
Well, Joey, my paycheck comes out on the 10th, and I think with that paycheck, I might be able to afford one gun skin, and that'll take up the entirety of that paycheck. No, I think it looks cool. It definitely has that cyberpunk esque feel to it. It's got the really bright colors, and it feels like it's stuck in the 80s or 90s. I like it. I think the color scheme looks good. I think it's solid. It's not too over the top like some people think that the dragon skin was. It's not as flashy or as detailed from what I've seen as the Oni skins have been. But I like it. There's something to be said about that's not really a recolor, but a simplistic remake for a cosmetic in game that I think would actually, I think it's going to sell well. I think it's smart. I mean, rotating it out like this on a limited time basis, it's smart marketing. And they're going to make money off of it easily. But so far I like it. I just don't like the price tag that's probably going to come with it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason that price tag hasn't changed, and it's because people are buying the skins at this crazy price, and it's one of those things that I don't really expect to change anytime soon if they keep making sales. But yeah, overall, Glitch Pop looks great. Will I be picking it up? I'm just a little up in the air. Maybe a skin for one gun here or there. depending what the shop ends up looking like. But overall, I do like the new theme.
With the 80 radiance it takes to unlock all the tiers.
Oh my gosh. Which, speaking of, last but not least for Valorant is the Battle Pass, Sean. We get a new Battle Pass starting tomorrow, August 4th. But before then, we have the chance to finish our current Battle Pass. I personally have not finished it.
No chance.
I think I ended around like tier 42, 43 maybe. It takes a lot to grind that sucker. I think it's something like 100 games or something like that. Obviously, hitting dailies will play into that. Hitting your weekly challenges play into that. But overall, like if you don't have the full time to devote to that sucker, it is a lot of grinding for the Battle Pass. And I'm sure many people hit it. I'm pretty sure Valorant is going to look over those stats and say, hey, this is the number of people that bought it. This is the number of the people that hit it. They're probably also going to wait to make too many adjustments till they see Battle Pass number 2. If a lot of those players who didn't make it all the way to 50 say, hey, I'm not going to buy the Battle Pass, or I'm going to wait maybe and buy the Battle Pass later in the act, I think that's something that Riot is really going to pay attention to with this game being so new. To me, it took too many games. I get it. You want to encourage people to earn their Battle Pass. You want to encourage them to play. The Battle Pass being one of those things that, yes, you want to reward players. Yes, you want to take their $5-10 or whatever it costs, but you also want them to play. And that's one way to keep your atmosphere kind of aggressive and kind of not aggressive, but lively, vibrant, to keep people playing and keep them engaged in the game. To me, I liked a lot of the skins. I thought the Battle Pass was pretty good overall compared to some other games, but it took way too many games for me. And I think for now, I'm at least going to hold off for the Battle Pass in Act 2. Any other final thoughts on the Battle Pass, sir? What tier did you get to?
30. Let's move on, please. It's not good.
So John might be holding off on Battle Pass Act 2 as well.
Yeah.
We'll have to wait and see on that. Again, guys, if you are still grinding that Valorant Battle Pass like Kieran Thill out there, Valorant's Episode 1 Act 1 is coming to a close tomorrow. That's August 4th for those listening on the podcast later. You have until up to that patch day to finish it. I want to say patches drop around 9 a.m., 10 a.m. usually Eastern time. So go ahead and get that done if you want to. Or maybe you just want to get to that next Radiant tier so you don't have to pay $10,000 for a little bit of Radiant. Go ahead and get that done tonight, guys. That will be dropping tomorrow with a new Battle Pass as well once that patch finishes. Probably around 12 p.m. Eastern time, 1 p.m. We will have a new Battle Pass, a new act, a new character, a new game mode. All dropping with lots of action to come. Just a few more topics to hit on today's show. Again, a little bit longer than these are probably going to be, John, and we discussed this before. There was no Thursday show last week. That is starting this week. So with that in mind, we did have quite a few topics to cut, but we did have a lot left to discuss as well in today's episode. So it's going to go a little bit longer than they probably will in the future. Upcoming game releases, Fall Guys, another game like Grounded. A lot of people did not expect a ton from it, but it's taking the world by storm. This one launches on PC and PlayStation 4 on August 4th. Again, tomorrow. It seems like everything's dropping tomorrow. It looks like a ton of fun. I mean, I watched Squircle in the OTN community stream quite a bit of it last week. It's a very fun, like vibrant game, a lot of fun game modes to throw in. Accessibility looks very accessible to a lot of different players. You can kind of play mind games a little bit. It kind of has that rat race feel out there for Panicking Pat as well. Shout out to Pat on that one. But overall, I think it's one of those games that's going to do really well. Its beta testing went extremely well. Streamers seem to love it. Gamers seem to love it. The price tag, I think, is like $30 for the regular edition. So it probably will sell pretty decently as well. And I think it's one of those, maybe not necessarily live service games, but I do think there are updates that could come and keep this thing regularly going for quite a while.
Yeah.
COD Warzone. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, no, Fall Guys is absolutely fantastic. I, too, have watched Squircle play quite a bit. Absolutely fantastic. I think it's, again, it's a break from what we've been seeing for the past 6-7 years when it comes to like the really popular big title games out there. Fall Guys, it looks incredibly fun. It's like a puzzle rat race kind of feel like, you know, it's like only a certain amount of people can finish each level. I think it's absolutely fantastic. I'm still looking for a beta key. Hello. But yeah, I am dying to play this game. And if it means I have to wait, then I'm going, wait, it comes out soon, right? It comes out. Yeah, it comes out tomorrow. What am I talking about? Oh my God. No, I'm downloading and playing it tomorrow. I'm actually going to be taking like 3 days off from work. So I'm going to be playing this nonstop. What am I talking about?
Yeah, I hate to be that guy, but I've already bought it as well. And correction, it is $20 according to chat with T-Spans over there. So yeah, I think this game is one of those things that's going to last a while. For $20, I don't think it's that big of an investment, and I think it's a game that a lot of people can pick up. I want to say, and Squircle, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's like 50 or 60 players that can play as well. So it's one of those things kind of like Jackbox 2. You can have a fun server online, invite a ton of people in, have a lot of fun. I don't know if they have custom games in the beta, but I would assume that's going to be a main feature as well. So definitely one to keep an eye on. Call of Duty Warzone Season 5, those COD fans, Modern Warfare. You want to know why the new Call of Duty hasn't been teased yet? It's probably because Season 5 for Warzone hasn't come out yet. Now it is coming out. Expect that teaser very soon for Call of Duty, the Cold War Edition, for those of you who don't know that title yet. That's going to be a Black Ops title and will be announced here pretty soon. So COD Warzone Season 5, check it out if you're enjoying Modern Warfare. I know I have enjoyed it quite a bit. Definitely going to be checking out Season 5. Avengers Beta, that is kicking off on August 7th for the PS4. Go play your Spider-Man, ladies and gentlemen. Go enjoy your beta on PlayStation. Then from there, your webs are all up. There's no more spinning of webs on any other platforms, so enjoy your beta over there on PlayStation.
This is just real quick, Joey. I think I have some more salt over here for you.
Oh, please. Come on, Sony, bro. What's going on? And then this one I'm actually happy about for Sony. PlayStation fanboys are not happy. And I'm kind of like, whatever, dudes, like deal with it. Horizon Zero Dawn is finally coming to PC, one of the critically acclaimed PlayStation 4 titles of last generation. I don't know about you, John, but I have been stoked to play Horizon Zero Dawn. Of all the games last generation, this is one of the ones that pushed me the closest to getting a PlayStation. Didn't push me all over the edge, but I am stoked to see it coming to PC. It's getting a ton of upgrades as well, frames being obviously one of the biggest ones out there when a lot of games move from console to PC. I'm super stoked for this. Will I buy it up front? I'm not 100% sure. Will I buy it at some point? Yes, 100%. I want to support Sony games on PC. I want to see more and more titles from Xbox and PlayStation going to PC. Nintendo would be great if you jumped in too, but I'm sure that's never going to happen. But Xbox already declaring all their first-party titles will be on PC. I really think Sony's going to come through with this very soon as well. I think they wait till they push their console sales out. I think the announcement comes in 2021, maybe 2022, but eventually more and more PlayStation games will be coming to PC, in my humble opinion. I'm not going to state that as a fact for now, but it definitely is a good chance it'll happen here soon. So stay tuned for that one. Horizon Zero Dawn, again, August 7th. A lot of good games coming out this week and a lot of fun betas. Jumping into our last segment is the weekly Esport League updates. Sean, we're not going to touch on a ton this week, but just a couple to slide in here before we end today's show. First but not least is the Gears of War esports scene. UYU ended up winning their second championship this weekend, going back to back. John, they've been dominating the Gears scene recently. They're one of those teams not super well known in esports overall. They don't have a ton of coverage, don't have a ton of clout, but they're doing really well in certain scenes, and Gears of War being one of them. They did not drop a single map throughout the event. I don't care what game you're playing. It could be Fall Guys, it could be Call of Duty, it could be League of Legends. If you go through a whole tournament without dropping a single map, without losing at all, that is ginormous. A huge congrats to them on that. Not only winning the championship, but that dominant performance there. Also, a shout out to UYU's coach, Thy Ashes. I follow him on Twitter. Definitely worth the follow. I think he is one of the most intelligent esport coaches out there. Very young guy, but I love the way he approaches the scene. He's not afraid to critique developers, but also sit down and say, hey, this is our feedback from an esport team level. He's not afraid to come out and talk to fans because the Gears community is crazy. There's a lot of great guys over there, but a lot of guys that are just absolutely insane with their feedback. They just want everything certain ways, and that's just how that community is. Very fun community to be a part of, but again, very stringent on the way they want things. So to be a coach, to be a player, to be a developer in that scene, I think is very tough at times overall. But yeah, while the Gears scene is smaller in comparison to other esports titles, Thy Ashes has done a great job. He's built up multiple teams. I think he's won like 21 tournaments between Gears and other games. One of the biggest, winningest coaches in console esports history, at least. So definitely a shout out to him as well as the UYU team winning this Gears tournament. And then last but not least, John, we have to talk League of Legends, one of the biggest esports in the world, if not the biggest, on almost everyone's list and almost everyone's fact sheet. We're going to kick things off with Europe here with LEC. Honestly, there's not a match that sticks out to me a ton this week. I think overall it's a storyline. G2 may have bounced back. They went 2-0 this week. One of the matches was Vitality, which is practically a bye week for a lot of teams. And then Fnatic. Fnatic, who's usually a top contender, currently sitting, I think they're like 4th or 5th on the table right now. So it's one of those teams that should be doing well. A lot of people attributed them to do well. They were 2nd overall in spring, but in summer they have faltered quite a bit. G2 going 2-0. On the other side, Origin is going 0-2. They lost to Mad, who's one of the top teams right now, and Schalke, who is one of the worst teams right now. It seems to be a theme over in Europe right now where teams that are supposed to do good end up losing to a really good team and a really bad team. So now Origin is sitting at a 6-9 record. G2 around that same record, maybe a little bit higher, but both teams really underperforming. From an outside-in perspective, John, do you think G2 is back, and do you think Origin has time to recover?
G2 could be back. Going up against, let me see here, Vitality and Fnatic. I think the Fnatic win's pretty good. Vitality, not so much. Fnatic does still have quality players, so I think that is a decent win there. There's still a lot to be seen here. I mean, again, there is 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5 ties in the standings right now. It's that close. Outside of first place with Rogue and Mad Lions that are running away with everything. The difference between last place and third place is 3 games. So it's still a crapshoot for third place all the way down. If G2's starting to turn it on, which looks like they may be doing, now would be the time to do it.
Yeah, and I think the other thing to keep in mind, too, for fans who might be a fan of one region and not the other, LCS spring did not mean anything. Over in Europe, it did mean things. So depending where teams ended up placing over in Europe, they do get points that are attributed toward Worlds. So the winner of the summer split goes on to Worlds automatically. Then there are 3 more spots up for grabs. That's 4 fingers. Hello. 3 fingers up for grabs.
3 spots.
Outside of that summer winning. Yeah, I know. Hello, what? Huh? So overall, G2 won spring split. They have the most points. So regardless if they go on to win summer, if they make playoffs, there's a very good chance that they advance to Worlds. Fnatic was second. As long as they make playoffs and win a round, they're most likely going to advance to Worlds. So then it comes down to some of these other teams. You're going to average the points in. You're going to have the winner of the summer split if it's not G2 or Fnatic. And then on top of that, all these points average together to get you those other 3 teams. So I think it's probably safe to say G2 and Fnatic make it. I don't think it'll be very clean like it has been in the past. Maybe G2 or Fnatic bounces back and wins the summer split. But overall, I think the teams that are going to really be competing are going to be your Origin, are going to be Rogue, are going to be Mad Lions. Mad Lions and Rogue, who have come out and looked extremely good in summer, but did not have the greatest showing in spring. I mean, Mad Lions took an upset on G2. I think they finished 4th. They probably have a good chance at making Worlds. Rogue did not have that finish in spring, and now they're coming out as a top team here in summer. They're really going to have to fight their way in this playoffs to make their way to Worlds. So overall, I think Origin and Rogue are definitely the 2 teams to watch, potentially fighting for that 3rd or 4th spot here, depending on how things shake out with Fnatic, G2, and Mad Lions. Then over in the LCS, John, not all of the teams are on Cloud9 recently. A little bit of pun intended there. Cloud9 with another weak week. They went 0-2, John. And not only did they lose to 2 teams, they lost to TSM, which some people can shake off. Yeah, they have support issues. Yeah, they have jungler issues. And they've made some roster changes here and there. But then you lost to Golden Guardians too. And I had to say it. I was in Squircle chat and I'm like, I think GG has a chance of beating C9 this week. And it did end up happening. I think this is a giant win for GG and a little bit of a cause concern for Cloud9. Not only are you losing, and I do think GG is a good team. I'm not going to say they're a bad team. So I think there is some desperation here from Cloud9. But I think the bigger story is Cloud9 has lost every single week for like the last 3 or 4 weeks. Not complete 0-2s, but not looking very clean either. I think it's time to panic a little bit.
Yeah, last 3 weeks for Cloud9, they went 1-1. This past week, they went 0-2. This Cloud9 team is spiraling out of control. And no one really, there isn't one issue that says, oh, yes, this needs to be fixed. It's not necessarily the draft. It's not necessarily the way they play. Is it in-game decisions? Absolutely. Cloud9 is known for making really bad in-game decisions, really big bang or bust kind of plays. And we've seen that throughout the years. It's nothing different there. But the problem is, for some reason, it seems like in-game communication is breaking down. Team fights aren't going the way they're supposed to go. They're making bad decisions in the jungle. They're making bad decisions in lane. They're falling behind early, and they're not able to come back. Cloud9 is in complete free fall right now. They were in first place for most of this split with a very wide margin. We're talking 2, 3, 4, 5 games ahead of second place. Now they're tied for second place, 1 game away from 4th place, and 2 games away from 5th place, if not possibly 6th place. Like, that's a massive, massive deal here right now. If you're a Cloud9 fan, this has to have you worried. This team is not performing, and there is no real reason why they shouldn't be. Yes, it's Blabber's first time full season as the man in the jungle. Yeah, I get it. There isn't really any pressure to replace him with Sven Skarengon. They're not going to bring Meteos back, Cloud9 fans. It's not going to happen. It's not really Blabber's fault either. It's a whole team effort. There's something wrong with the way they're playing this game, and they got to figure it out. They're not in a position to essentially free fall like they're currently doing if they want to try to make it to Worlds. Like you said, Joey, Spring Split for LCS meant absolutely nothing other than a cool little star on your jersey there, Cloud9. Trust me, I enjoy that star on that jersey. It doesn't mean anything in the long run when you're trying to make it to Worlds. You guys need to figure it out real quick.
Yeah, I think C9 might have just got a little bit bored the year before. They've really enjoyed those gauntlet runs to make their way to Worlds. So maybe they're just tanking now. They said, hey, we missed the gauntlet last year. Let's put our backs against the wall and have to win 4 or 5 matchups to make our way to Worlds. That's got to be what's happening, right?
Your logic is flawed, and I don't appreciate it because my heart cannot take another gauntlet run full of reverse sweeps with the final boss being TSM. I can't do it again, Joey. It's not going to happen.
Honestly, John, I just think it's one of those things where maybe it's part of a handle on the meta. I don't know if they're quite there in the current meta. Some of the drafts, again, I am not a high-ranked League of Legends player. I feel like I know strategy a decent amount, but mechanically, I am not there, ladies and gentlemen. But I think this is one of those things where I think the drafts could be improved. I think the play, some of the picks they're playing could definitely be rethought in a different way of strategy, but also team communication. And it's not just them. You look at Origin, Fnatic, G2 over in EU, TSM arguably as well at a certain time in NA, Liquid over in the spring. Team communication has definitely been an issue for a lot of these big teams in EU and NA. And I think that's one thing that we need to see shored up. And maybe it's outside of League of Legends. Maybe they need to do more team building activities off of the Rift. Maybe they need to go find ways to continue to build that communication, or it doesn't necessarily have to be a friendship, but build up some of that camaraderie as well within the squad. I think stuff like that could help. It could help people and players be more receptive to feedback as well. So it's one of those things where I really praised Daylor for Fnatic a couple years ago when they went 18-0. He came in with no esports experience. He knew nothing about League of Legends, but he came in with that sports mentality, and he was able to really adapt that team and make them build up as players, as friends, as teammates, and build that camaraderie. And he had no idea some of the strategic stuff that went into League, but that team did super well successfully. Maybe we start seeing more and more coaches get picked up in like that mental arena, or in some of that sport mental, I don't even know what it's called, sport mentality, sport
mental health,
different coaches in that area. Yeah, like kind of like mental health.
Yeah.
But overall, just like building those mental bonds, building that friendship. I want to see a little bit more of that, especially in some of these top teams that currently seem to be struggling in both regions. So we'll see what happens there. A lot of exciting matchups ahead. But again, guys, we have that second show on Thursday, so we'll touch on those then. One more disclaimer, John, before you take us to the finish. Guys, we have at the show Thursday, 8 p.m. It's going to be new this week. Again, this one ran a bit longer than they probably will normally. It'll probably be closer to 35, 45 minutes. But because we didn't have a Thursday show last week, we had a lot to cover today for you guys. So don't look forward to shows being this long here in the near future. This will be broken up for a few more fun things down the road.
We got another 15 seconds if you want to keep. No, I'm joking.
Oh, my gosh.
Give you a hard time. Well, Nation, that does it for this edition of Level Up Live. Before you go, head on over to patreon.com/OTN and consider becoming a part of the Overtime Network. In return, you will get exclusive access to content that nobody else in the world can get unless they are a part of the OTN Media family. If you enjoy listening to the LvLUp Podcast, let us know. Leave us a review on Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, and Google Play. We would love to hear from you. In fact, we love to hear from all of our listeners so much. We have other ways for you to get a hold of us and chit-chat and just hang out in general. Joey, where else can LvLUp Nation go to hang out with us?
General Joey and his army, LvLUp Nation. Head on over and follow the podcast on Twitter at LvLUp Live. That's LvLUP Live. In addition to that, you can follow the network as well, OTN Media, on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at OTN Media. Last but not least, hit us up with a follow on Twitch as well. The show will be live Monday nights at 8 p.m. as well as Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for followers who want to watch it live. Twitch.tv/OTN Media. As long as a lot of other fun content throughout the week from our streamers, check it out.
Captain Joey, I appreciate your service today, sir. Nation, make sure you tune in Thursday as we cover the latest and greatest in gaming and esports news. Do your ears a favor, hit that subscribe button to know when the next episode of LvLUp Live is ready for your listening and watching pleasures. We'll catch you all next week. Remember, be nice to your fellow gamers online, and as always, level up.